and welcome to my YouTube channel. Now, today I'm going to be going over how I did this monstrosity of a door. Now, a little bit about this project. I put this door in about 3 months ago, and I was like, meanwhile, I don't really have any experience before this. I did one kind of Dremel job in college in like a sculpture class where you kind of were left on your own. It was a face. I'll show you an image of that. Anyways, I didn't have any experience with woodwork, but I was like, I'm going to custom make a door frame. I thought this door was too cool to have that standard trim, and I thought the trim was like a little bit too small and thin. So I wanted something like bold with impact. Honestly, I thought it was going to take a week, and it has taken me 3 months. So I do a lot of crazy stuff to my house, one of which is the moon door, or moon gate rather, and that took me about the same time as this, which is insane. It took me so long, but it's definitely worth it. You know, I did it in a style that you can't really find. If you try to find like Art Nouveau, which is the style I tried to work with, you just can't really find much stuff, or it's super expensive. So for something this big, I just had to make it. So I hope you enjoy my process. Again, I'm not like a professional wood carver at all, but I did have fun doing it, and I hope it inspires people to just do something big. You know, even if you don't have any experience, sometimes it's just do something big, and if it's a little flawed, it's a little flawed. I think that's fine. I mean, this piece is asymmetrical, but that is what is the beauty in handcraft. Asymmetry, imperfections, that's what makes handcraft, in my opinion, special. So enjoy.
I ordered this door for access from the interior of our Airbnb to the hot tub, which is at the side of the house. There's no door going there, and I felt that the guests really need a better access route. The door came from this company. It's really beautiful stuff they do. They even have a hobbit door they offer. Anyways, they use reclaimed wood to make these beautiful round doors. And I decided to give it a little bit of a stain. The stain color is kind of the color of what copper looks like when it's getting rusted with specifically like an acid environment. It kind of gets this like coppery green. Anyways, I chose to use that, a color that reminded me of that. And the color paint, or stain rather, is, I think it's called rustic sage. I thought it was really just a cool Parisian looking stain. I only did it on the interior. The exterior is going to be very barny to go with the rest of the house. Here is the carving I did in college, the only woodworking thing I've ever done. And here's the wood company I got from. They do a bunch of wood that you kind of order and bring. I got maybe 6 huge pieces. And here's some Art Nouveau inspiration. The main inspiration is a Hector Guimard vase, and I ended up regretting this as an inspiration because it was a ceramic where I'm working with wood, so it kind of threw me off a bit, but I did a lot of drawings and got inspired. I decided to draw on the wood with chalk. This actually worked out really well because with the grains and everything, a marker kind of just doesn't do the trick, and pens the same way kind of just gets lost in the wood. and this to me was like a very natural way of doing the lines. I just mixed a bunch of colors, and it was almost like painting to try to get this very flowy, free-forming design on the wood. Also, because of the curve, I have to like really think about curving up on the edge, and there's a little bit of asymmetry in each piece because the inside has to be flat and flush to the door, and the outside just kind of can go off and be more free-forming, if that makes sense. So that really had a lot to play with how I executed the pattern. I pre-drilled before I did the jigsawing, which really helped with the jigsaw not breaking. These are really thick pieces of wood. I want to say I worked with approximately 3 inches thick by, I want to say, 8 feet. And so it was just so hard to get through that thickness. But it really worked out. The extra thickness of the wood really made it so I could really think in layers. And I really did almost like 3 or 4 layering in the pattern, which is something interesting to wrap your head around if you're used to drawing. With sculpture, it's very three-dimensional, so you could have one layer doing something and interacting with different layers, and it's definitely cool. It's hard to explain, but it's definitely a cool process working in 3D. Jigsawing was a challenge, and I went through a few blades that end up bending, and yeah, it was a little difficult, but I really needed to get big chunks out. So there's all different kinds of Dremels with construction, I guess, or some that are specifically for carving and some that are for more construction. And at the beginning I was using mostly the Woodcarving rotation Dremel that has like a million different kinds of attachments, and I was using all the different kinds of attachments, spending tons of money, and then I ended up using mostly in this project a Dremel that's meant for construction. It's not even really meant for wood carving, but I really enjoyed this because it was like a vibration Dremel. It just vibrates and saws in that way, and you could really get like fine detailing actually on the edge. But I do recommend wearing protective glasses and everything because things can break and it could be a little bit dangerous. And that goes for both kinds of Dremels. As you can see, I'm using the Dremel that is the vibration Dremel, and it's just digging into the piece of wood. So it was really cool how it can just dig out big chunks. And for this project, I really needed to dig out big chunks. So that was really helpful. At this point, I started getting lost. I was following the ceramic Hector Gamard image, and I realized that the mediums that just weren't like lining up, if that makes sense. It started looking like weird boobies, so I had to go back to the drawing board and look at more Hector Gamard, and some of the metal work like this that you see a lot in Paris was much more inspiring for me, and a lot of the woodwork just had the feel that I was going for, especially since this was a woodworking project.
Industrialism.
Now, Hector Gamard, a little bit about him, and he's a lot of the big inspiration behind this project. He is one of the big Art Nouveau architects. There's Hector Gamard from Paris and Victor Horta from Belgium, and they're really just so inspirational for me. And I recommend you looking at his stuff, because some of it doesn't exist anymore. You kind of have to read it in books. But the stuff that he's known for that's still around is the Paris subway
so this is what
entrances, which is really cool that they're still standing.
I don't know. Like, this is just one of 6 pieces that I have to do. And so I'm trying to do this kind of organic elements and these kind of holes. I had to actually drill out these holes, 3 of them in total. And I'm trying to just do a little bit more fine detailing. This is actually also Art Nouveau. I purchased it at a flea market, so you could see it's definitely beautiful. It's a little bit like Victorian. I mean, it's like the same time period, so sometimes it blurs together. This, but I want this to be kind of more Parisian style Art Nouveau, which would be the main dude over there was Hector Gamard, famous architect. So I'm trying to get these little details in here, and a lot more work. This is like a day in. So I'm using different kinds of Dremels, this Dremel, that Dremel, drills, and jigsaws. So that's what I've been using so far. The drill bits for the Dremels have been just this one right here. It's kind of round one. But I'm gonna have to get something like a polishing bit to make it more polished, and then maybe some sort of carving bit to do like more fine carving. So that's
So the bottom was just kind of specifically Hector Gamard. I mean, it kind of doesn't go with the rest, actually. It's like the quintessential subway entrance thing that they have. So shield, kind of floral shield that you see on the subway entrances. So here is the rotating Dremel. This attachment didn't really work out for me at all, but like I said, I used like all of the attachments you could get, and the ones that really worked for me were the metal ones, the metal kind of etching attachments. I'll show you them in a minute. So they really worked out really well. They really scooped out the necessary amount of wood in between the little bits of crevice and fine details. Also, I had to move over and do another side of the door trim, and I decided to not try to make it symmetrical. I felt like if I tried to make it symmetrical, it still wouldn't be symmetrical. So I made it kind of symmetrical, where the bones and symmetry were there, but like if I like something, I would make it bigger. If I want to make it bigger or smaller, I just did more free form with it. So I stained all of the wood the same color as the door, the rustic sage, and it really worked out. It looked really beautiful. So I didn't realize how time-consuming sanding is, and there's no way around it. The first piece especially took me forever because I was dremeling in such a way that I had to sand a lot, and I didn't really think about, making my work easier. And I would shop vacuum off the sanding, the sawdust, and do all the different kind of weird stuff. And I found that actually what works very well is just sweeping it away with a broom. This Dremel attachment worked amazingly. So they have a sanding Dremel attachment that just goes right in, and it worked really, really well. It's like it applied with like Velcro, so you could change them in and out. I rotated it's like a triangle patch, and I kept on rotating it because I'd find that like certain sections would get burned out quicker than others. So it was just super useful. I really got a lot of good use out of this. Just as I was getting to the end of this and I thought I just had one little piece to put in, I kind of looked at how the door was just right against the header and there was no room. It looked like it just cut off and it looked kind of weird to me. I think it would look weird whichever way I worked with it. So I decided to make it look weird in a fabulous way by putting a head on the header and having it kind of vine up to the head from the trim. And I asked my daughter her opinion. Okay, she's 3 years old, so I kind of took it with a grain of salt. But her opinion does really matter to me. And I got inspiration from her, who desperately wanted something up there. And I was like, well, what about a face? She loved the idea of a face. I was like, what about your face? She loved that. And I decided to do what I think her face will look like as an adult. I thought that was a fun way, an artistic way of expressing my love for her as a parent and what I think she'll look like in the future. It's kind of a fun way of doing things, and I decided to again take inspiration from some Art Nouveau heads. Someone on TikTok suggested Muka. Now Muka, there's one reference of a sculpture to Muka, and it's gorgeous, of course, but it's he mostly does illustration. Here is the Muka head and so I decided to go with Muka inspired. My daughter's middle name is Iris, and that is because my father, who passed away, was a big flower fan, and his favorite flower were irises. So I decided to make her head crowned and adorned with a wreath of irises. So I had to find more reference pictures of irises, and that were very Art Nouveau, and do drawings of this. At this stage, I was getting a little scrappy and used kind of scrap pieces of wood and attached them to the bottom section that I carved out with Art Nouveau shapes. And I might even do another layer of wood on top of this. So carving's really like a reduction. I'm going to doing reduction of the wood, carving it out to make the shape. So, and I'm going to glue it together with wood glue. I'm trying to make the curvy, curly hair that she has kind of mirror the Art Nouveau shapes that are kind of all vine-like. And so it kind of looks like the hair blends in with the vine type structures I created and mixes in with the floral motif of the irises and the crown. I'm also thinking of doing like a crown of pearls or metal or ambiguous stuff to like it's strapping the hair together, tying it all in with maybe metal or, like I said, jewelry. So it's very whimsical. And I did a lot of takes and editing with drawing on top of that. Here's some of the Art Nouveau irises, the imagery that I found that was helpful for me. Art Nouveau is very irisy heavy, and some of its inspiration for a lot of Art Nouveau motifs. I think because the iris is associated with French aristocratic history, that might have something to do with it as well. I did a lot of carving with this construction Dremel using the edge of the blade. It worked really well, but I still was very careful with the face because I didn't want to do much with the nose. So I'm going to just come back and do the detailing, making sure that I don't rip out a lot of the nose or the cheekbone, and you save the detailing for the blades, the rotating Dremel that is more useful for carving, fine carving. So when I got really familiar with the tools, I ended up really just using two rotating Dremel bits, both of them metal. So I just stuck to the metal ones. The sandpaper ones didn't last, and a lot of it just wasn't really great. So I used this like rotating metal Dremel bit that worked really well, and there was a thinner one that I used just to get a lot of the detailing, and it really worked for all the detailings of the face, the nose, the eyes, the lips. So I just went back and forth with those two sizes. But again, I ended up using less and less of them because I just really liked the construction Dremel, the vibrating one. So I'm absolutely thrilled with how this all came out. I love the detailing of the irises, the little pearls, the face. I don't know, I think I could have done better, but I just love how everything formed together, and it's just kind of a one-of-a-kind door. If you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing more of this kind of funky stuff. I have some stuff with stonework that's a little unusual and tiling, and I like to really do things outside of the box. So again, please follow this channel or follow on Instagram or TikTok. Instagram, the channel is called Wandering Peacock House, and it's the same for TikTok, and this is Do It Yourself Deluxe. So I hope this brings you inspiration. Again, thank you for watching.